I'm Alan Johnson, KU2Y, and this is the CubeSatSim build video for the main board, part 1. And this video is for the version 2.1 boards, but it also works with the version 2 boards as well. And if you look, you can see the version number here on the front there where it says main v2.1.0. So in order to do this, you need some tools. You should always wear safety glasses when you're soldering and using side cutters. You will need side cutters for trimming the leads. You might need needle nose pliers for bending things. You'll obviously need solder, metal curls, or a sponge for cleaning the tip. And of course you need your soldering iron as well. And going to start with the blank board that already has the surface mount components on it. So it has the FM transceiver, the USB-C connector, and also the 2 low-pass filters. If those parts aren't on your board, then you'll need to install them first before you begin doing this through-hole soldering. Okay. So the bill of materials, there is a tab on it that has by step, and it will list all the different parts by step with checkboxes, so you can check the parts off as you have installed them. Okay, so let's start with the first part, which is J1, the stacking GPIO header. So this is actually the only part that goes on the bottom of the board. The top of the board has the AMSAT logo on it. So I'm going to place it on the top. Sometimes the pins get a little bent and you need to move them a bit to get them to go in. There we go. So you see it's installed in the back. And there it is on the front. Now, it's important that this part be installed at right angles and also fully inserted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first tin my iron here. And then I'm going to solder just one pin. And then I'm going to have a close look at it and see. It's actually pretty good. Maybe it's off by a little bit. And also it's fully inserted. There's no gap there. So that looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and solder one pin on the other side. Okay. So now I can go ahead and solder the remaining pins. And you need to make sure you're applying the heat to both the pad and the pin. And also make sure that you don't get any solder on the upper part of the pins, because if you do, that will make it difficult to stack the boards. The solder will prevent the other connector from connecting onto it. But if you keep the solder at the bottom, it should be fine. And just want each of these joints to be a nice teardrop shape, and we don't want to apply too much solder, otherwise the pins might bridge. Okay, so that's one row there. Just have a quick inspection. Looks pretty good. Okay, now do the other side. I'm going pretty fast, but you can take your time. Let's have a look. Okay, looks good. Next part we're going to do is the push button switch S1, and so it's going to be installed on the top of the board right here. Oops. Get the 4 pins in. Okay, that's interesting. Just need to use my pliers here to move these front pins out a little bit. Okay. There we go. Sure it's inserted all the way. And then with all the parts, we are going to solder 1 pin and then check it to make sure that it's installed the right way, that it's not crooked, because it's easy to fix when there's 1 pin soldered, but if you've soldered all the pins, then it's much more difficult to fix problems like that. Okay, so that is the push button switch. Next we'll do X1, the remove before flight switch, which is the 3.5 millimeter jack, which we use as a switch. Put it in here. Wow, I'm having some problems. There we go. Again, check to make sure it's installed all the way. Looks good. Solder 1 pin. Check it. Looks good, so we'll solder the other pins. Okay, so now we're going to install a light emitting diode, which is the green power LED, LED 3, and a 1K ohm resistor. So those are those 2 components. Now the LEDs have clear lenses, so don't mix them up. You can't tell which one's which once they're out of the bag. Also, the resistors are all going to be mounted vertically on the board. So what you need to do is just take the resistor and just bend the other lead over. You can either do it with your fingers or you can do it using pliers. So that is ready to go. And also we should double check the resistor. The color bands are brown, black, red, which is correct for 1K. So let's insert them here. So R7 goes right here. So you see we install it vertically there. And then I'm just going to give the pins a very slight bend. That just holds it in place and also gives it a little bit of mechanical strength. So that's good for the resistor. And now for the LED, is a light emitting diode, which means it is polarized. So we need to pay attention to which pin. Now 1 pin here is longer, and the longer pin is plus, And if you look at the circuit board, the pin away from the edge is labeled with a plus. So I'm going to insert it this way here. The longer lead further away and the other one close. Put it in all the way, and then also bend the pins very slightly. Now the other thing to look at is that the lens actually has a little flat spot on the negative side. So you see that flat spot is facing the edge there. Okay, so I'm going to solder them. And again, I will just do one pin on each component, one pin on the resistor, one pin on the LED, and then I will check. Make sure it's straight, make sure it's in the right way. Now you can see that LED is not perfect, is it? It is, it's sitting up a bit and it's on an angle, but that's very easy to fix. I just heat it up and apply a bit of pressure, and there it goes. Now it is straight and fully inserted, and so now I can go ahead and solder the other pin. Okay, so that looks good, and now I can trim the parts here. Now again, always wear your safety glasses because the offcut can go flying. I like to also just put a finger or a thumb on it, and that way it doesn't go everywhere. And you don't want to cut the solder, you just want to cut the actual lead itself. Okay. So that's the green LED there and its resistor. Now we're going to install the red charge LED, LED 5, and a 220 ohm resistor. So here is our red LED, and here's our 220 ohm resistor, which is red, red, brown, and I'm going to bend it to mount it vertically. And now I'm going to install it in R9. Now resistors don't have a polarity, it doesn't matter which way you do it. The LED, just like before, has a polarity. The longer lead is plus. The plus goes away from the edge. And so there it goes. And so I'm going to solder one pin on each. Take a look. And again, the LED is not quite perfect, so I'm just going to heat up that pin. There we go. All right, now I can solder the other pin. So that looks good. And I can trim the excess leads here. Okay. And then finally, I'm going to do the blue transmit LED, LED 4, and the R8, which is a 100 ohm resistor, and that has the color bands brown, black, brown. So I'm going to bend it over to mount it vertically. Mount. The resistor, and then same thing, paying attention to the polarity. The longer lead is plus. Plus goes away from the edge, and then in it goes. Okay. And I will solder one pin on each. And again, I'll just fix the LED there. You can also use some blue putty to hold a part like an LED in place while you're soldering it there. Okay, so that's the 3 LEDs on the top there. That's what it looks like on the bottom. Okay, so next I'm going to do the diode D1 and the PTC F1. Now these two components here are the only changes between this 2.1 version of the board and the 2.0 version of the board. So this is the 2.0 version of the board because it says main v2.0 dot something. And you see it has D1 and it has D4 there. So basically two diodes there. This version 2.1 has diode D1. It's actually a slightly different spec diode. And then instead of D2, it has the PTC F1. Now, it turns out that the wiring is basically the same. So if you happen to have, if you happen to use the bill of materials for the version 2.1, for the version 2.0 boards, and you ordered the two diodes here, you could actually solder them in here. If you did that, here's how you would do it. When we do diodes, we do them vertically, just like the resistors. And notice the band at the top there is the polarity. So you would do this one facing that way, and you would do the other one facing this way. Okay, so you could actually put the two diodes in here if those are the parts that you have. Now, I would actually recommend using the updated parts because the charging circuit performs a little bit better. So that's how we're going to do it here. So I'm going to take the diode here, and in terms of the polarity, it goes this way. You see the arrow there pointing to the left. So we have the white band on the left side there. So I'm going to bend it here. And then I'm going to insert it. So that is diode D1. And then the PTC, this does not have any polarity. It just goes here into F1. And then I just bend the pins there. Okay. And the other thing is that you can actually put the new spec diode and the PTC in place of D4. That works just fine too. So you can actually mix and match between the two boards. And the wiki has pictures of all of them. Okay, so let's install the diode D1 and the PTC. And again, I'm going to solder just one pin on each. And then take a look. Make sure everything's straight. One last check to make sure the diode, the band is on the top. And it goes that way. Yep, looks good. So now we can solder the second pin there, and we can trim the leads. Okay. Looks good. So now the final parts that we're going to do here are 3 resistors that make up the transmit attenuator. And we're going to do the These two 68 ohm resistors, R13 and R15, notice that they're big because they're half a watt of power. And we're also going to do resistor R14, which is 180 ohms here. Okay, so I'm going to bend all of these so that they can be mounted vertically. And then I'm going to insert them. So there is R15. Here is R14. And there is R13. And I'm going to bend the pin slightly. Okay, now I'm going to make sure that they end up straight here, not crooked like that. There we go. That's better. Okay, so I'm going to solder one pin. Double check here. Okay, that's all right. And trim the leads. Okay, so there they are. All right. So that completes the soldering for this board. Now we're just going to test it, and to test it we need a USB-C cable plugged into power, either a computer or a power plug. And if we plug this in, the red LED should illuminate. Okay, success. So that completes the CubeSatSim main board part 1.